Now, President Trump is getting mocked on social media because he still doesn't quite understand how tariffs work. Now, the administration has just imposed a 25% tariff on $200 to $250 billion worth of goods imported from China into the United States. Now, I guess it's in the hopes that it will somehow help American companies and create jobs and fix the trade deficit, etc. Right? Yet, he doesn't seem to understand that tariffs are mainly paid by consumers. So, consumers of those goods, they generally end up paying the tariffs because the cost is, of course, passed down to the consumer. Now, that's evidenced, of course, by an early morning tweet storm in which he wrongly insists that no, it's not the consumers that are paying for the tariffs, it's the Chinese government. He tweets, "Talks with China continue in a very congenial manner. There's absolutely no need to rush, as tariffs are now being paid to the United States by China of 25% on $250 billion worth of goods and products. These massive payments go directly to the Treasury of the United States." Yet, survey says that is a lie, a complete falsehood. That is literal fake news. Now, the Chinese, they're not paying the tariffs. And that money certainly is not going into the U.S. Treasury. No. American companies that import Chinese products, they are the ones who are paying the tariffs. Now, look, I get the idea behind protective tariffs, and in some situations, tariffs are actually a good thing, right? Now, the goal here, of course, is you want people to buy American, and you want sellers to sell American. I get that, right? Now, the problem is that American companies don't generally make a lot of the things that we import from China, which is why we import from China. And when American companies do make these things, they end up costing more since they pass the cost of labor onto the consumer, generally, right? That is, ironically, also what is happening with the tariffs. American companies who get goods pass on those costs to the consumer. That means you pay more. Lovely. Lots of fun. I'm not sure if that's what he was going for. But with Trump, I guess you never really know. Now, he also said this, quote, "Build your product in the United States, and there are no tariffs." Okay, sure. Look, now, do I want to see more stuff built in America by places who offer high wages? Yeah, dude, I am all about that. 100%. Look, I'm even happy to pay a little bit more for a product to make sure that the people working get higher wages and benefits and, living wage, right? But at the same time, there are a lot of people who can't really afford that because we don't have a living wage. We have stagnant wages. We have an increased cost of living. We have debt, consumer debt, out of control credit card debt, student loan debt, increasing costs of mortgages. We've got a mortgage crisis basically on our hands. So I can understand that people are generally gravitate towards cheaper Chinese-made products because they can't really afford anything else. Now, these are issues that Trump basically refuses to fix. He is not in favor of raising the minimum wage to a living wage, to at least $15 an hour, which is the bare minimum, by the way. That would actually help some people afford American goods and actually allow for more jobs, more workers to have a higher standard of living. Now, that would kind of negate the need to have these tariffs in the first place. Again, since a lot of people are buying Chinese goods because they basically can't afford anything. They can't afford to buy more expensive American goods and support American jobs, even if they don't want to, or even if they actually want to. So I get it, right? And I'm not against tariffs as a negotiating tactic for trade deals, right? I am, however, against using it for the sake of using it and saying, "Ha ha, China." I mean, come on. If you're going to use it, then actually understand what you're using it for and successfully deploy it as a negotiation tactic. That is not what's happening right now because the president is not a very stable genius. And that's evidenced by what they're actually putting tariffs on. If you look at the list of Chinese products that are subject to President Trump's new tariffs, it is not on finished goods that are assembled. It's actually a lot on parts. and materials. Copper, aluminum, lead, zinc, metal gaskets, washers, all are not sold directly to consumers for the most part, but they're actually sold mostly to manufacturers that are making actual finished products. So when your parts are more expensive, then it makes it more expensive for American companies with American workers to maybe make those things. And at the end of the day, it also makes those things more expensive. So the whole thing is really counterintuitive, and it could lead to more American job losses. He literally has no idea what he's doing on trade. And so, of course, social media came to correct him, as they usually do, starting out with Axios, right? Who tweeted out, reality check, tariffs are paid by U.S. importers of affected Chinese goods, not by China's government or by Chinese companies. Importers then either raise costs in consumers, lower their own profit margins, which never happens, or both. Not only that, more, Pete Souza says, I guess you flunked Econ 101 in college. Oh, that's right. He went to Wharton. Oh, man, Wharton's got to be so embarrassed. Michael Salerno says, tariffs are not being paid by China. Tariffs are being paid by American businesses that import goods from China. Then they pass those costs on to the American taxpayers. Honestly, have an Econ 101 book read to you or something. Because, look, we know that Donald Trump doesn't actually read. And when he does, he's a one-pager kind of guy. He only reads about one page. And then nothing else. I'm bored. I'm going to go tweet. More. Steve Malloy says, maybe China can pay for the wall too. J.C. Bradbury says, spoken like a confident D student in micro principles. What are you talking about, J.C.? No. Donald Trump's a very stable genius who has grades that are so amazing that he refuses to show us. I mean, they're so great. You know what would happen? Our heads would literally spin clean off if we saw how amazing Donald Trump's grades were. And that's why he hid his transcripts. Dylan Reeves says, he has still no idea how tariffs work. I would ask why no one has explained it to him, but I suspect they may have, and he doesn't listen. Well, of course. Terry Moran says, there's a blatant falsehood from Trump here. Tariffs are now being paid to the United States by China. These massive payments go directly to the Treasury. That's false and misleading. China does not pay a dime to the U.S. Treasury. Importers pay the tariffs. Simon Hedden says, I've never seen a president so proud of raising taxes on American consumers, which, look, let's be honest, you can definitely say that this is an effective tax on regular people, on consumers. So congratulations, Donald Trump. You have raised taxes on every single American. W.L. Lewis says, how is he still clueless about how tariffs work? And how is Wharton still not humiliated enough to rescind a degree they never should have given him? At the very least, they all owe us a very public apology. You know, that's a good question, right? Because we all know Donald Trump did not earn that degree. No, we know Donald Trump basically got floated through college because of his daddy. It's what happens to a lot of these people who are wealthy and powerful, come from wealthy families. They end up just buying their way through school. Why don't they just skip the whole school part and just let them buy the diploma, buy the degree, and just say, here you go. You paid $6 million for this. Have at it. I mean, you pretty much have the same result at the end of the day. And finally, Nick Jovanovic says, we are reduced to having to follow the logic of a complete idiot and to anticipate the reactions to this idiocy by machines. We are in the netherworld. I would kind of disagree. I think we're more an idiocracy than anything, but so far without the electrolytes. And damn it, I want my electrolytes. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.